Kenny, Young Dolph's own blood cousin, the same man Memphis streets had already been whispering about, is now being accused of pulling the trigger on Big Jook. Gotti's brother is gone, and now the streets are saying the fallout is getting uglier by the day. Reports claim Bo Lil Kenny ended up laid up in a hospital bed fighting for his life after being hit multiple times, critical condition, and the words spreading through Memphis that Yo Gotti allegedly put money on his head. Let me run that back so y'all really catch it. The man accused of taking out Yo Gotti's brother is now supposedly fighting for his own life. And the streets are connecting Gotti's name to the retaliation. That's the kind of karma people in Memphis talk about. In whispers, fly into the city, put in work, and the streets never forget. Y'all gotta hear every layer of this, because this ain't just another rap beef story anymore. This is turning into the final chapter, or maybe just another deadly chapter in one of the most violent rap wars this generation has seen. We're talking about the war between two Memphis powerhouses, Yo Gotti CMG and Young Dolph's paper route empire, a feud that already left bodies on both sides, murders, life sentences, courtroom confessions, and now the man linked to Big Jook's killing is reportedly in critical condition with rumors of a bounty floating around his name. This is Memphis, fam, and Memphis don't play around when it comes to bloodshed and revenge. Stay with me because I'm breaking down all of it: the history of the murders, the courtroom testimony, the alleged hit lists, the retaliation, and why Bo Lil Kenny being in that hospital bed might be the biggest twist in this whole saga. Now, to understand what's happening today, you gotta go all the way back. This beef didn't begin with bullets. It didn't start with diss tracks either. It started with business back in 2014. Yo Gotti was already established as the face of Memphis rap. He had CMG Collective Music Group, formerly Cocaine Music Group, running strong, and he had his eye on a hungry young rapper buzzing heavy in the streets. Adolph Robert Thornton Jr., better known to the world as Young Dolph, was different, and he knew it. Independent mindset, paper route mentality, building his own empire from scratch without needing industry handouts or cosigns. Dolph talked openly about turning down a $22 million deal because he refused to give up ownership and independence. That tells you exactly the type of man. He was stubborn, self-made, and impossible to control. Gotti reportedly wanted Dolph under the CMG umbrella. He wanted the hottest young voice in Memphis attached to his label, but Dolph said no, flat out no. And for a young rapper who wasn't even on Gotti's level yet to reject him like that, Memphis insiders say that didn't sit right at all. From there, the city split into two sides: CMG on one end, paper route empire on the other, and in the middle of all of it stood a man a lot of people outside Memphis didn't fully understand. Anthony, a Big Jook Mems, Yo Gotti's older brother, the alleged enforcer, the man many believed handled the serious business behind CMG. Meanwhile, Dolph wasn't staying quiet. He dropped diss records, threw shots at CMG, called out Big Jook directly, even mocking him publicly. Dolph was out here claiming a king of Memphis, and that title alone was enough to keep tension boiling because Gotti clearly felt that crown belonged to him. And this is where things turn dangerous, because Dolph survived situations that would have buried most men in February 2017. His SUV got hit with more than 100 bullets in Charlotte, North Carolina, over 100 shots. Somehow, Dolph survived and drove away. That moment later inspired one of his biggest records of 100 shots. Then later that same year, in September 2017, Dolph was shot outside a hotel in Los Angeles. A known Gotti affiliate was arrested before later being released without charges. The connection always seemed to hover around the situation. Even if nothing officially stuck, still Dolph carried himself like he couldn't be touched, metaphorically, and with those armored trucks, sometimes literally. The streets respected that fearlessness, but the hatred behind the scenes kept growing into something nobody could stop anymore. Every Thanksgiving, Dolph had a tradition. He'd return to Memphis and give back to the community with turkey drives and events for families, no matter how rich or famous he got. He stayed connected to the city. On November 17th, 2021, around 12:17 p.m., Dolph stopped at Makita's Homemade Butter Cookies on Airways Boulevard, a place he visited often during Thanksgiving week. That's when two men hopped out of a white Mercedes with one mission. Young Dolph was hit 22 times and died at the scene. Just like that, Memphis lost one of its biggest stars. Hip-hop went into shock. Paper route empire was shattered and multiple families were changed forever. But what many people didn't know at first was what happened immediately after the shooting. Dolph's brother Marcus Thornton reportedly fired back at the gunmen while they fled. One of the shooters was allegedly hit in the arm and leg while escaping. That detail matters later. The arrests came quickly. By January 2022, Justin Johnson, also known as Straight Drop, was arrested while allegedly trying to flee to Indianapolis in a U-Haul. Another suspect, Cornelius Smith, was picked up soon after. Then, a third man, Hernandez Govan, accused of acting as the middle middleman was indicted in November 2022. Police even rushed to secure Gotti's restaurant. After Dolph's murder, because authorities already feared retaliation, they knew this beef was bigger than rap records. Memphis was already sitting on the edge, but the real explosion came in September 23, 24. Justin Johnson's murder trial, and Cornelius Smith got on the stand and told the jury everything. Smith testified under oath that he and Johnson killed Young Dolph for a $100,000 payout. According to Smith, that money allegedly came from Big Jook himself, Yo Gotti's brother and CMG. Alleged number 2, let that sink in. Smith claimed Hernandez Govan connected the shooters to Big Jook and paired him with Johnson for the hit. He said they already knew Dolph would be in Memphis during his Thanksgiving charity events. They just waited for the opportunity. Once they spotted Dolph heading to Maqueda's, they followed him. Then came one of the wildest parts of the testimony. Smith claimed after the shooting, he and Justin Johnson allegedly FaceTimed Big Jook to confirm the hit was done. According to him, they basically called and said, "We got him." And after all of that, Smith testified he only received $800 before being arrested, $800 and eventually a life sentence. Justin Johnson was convicted of first-degree murder on September 26, 2024, and sentenced to life without parole. But according to leaked allegations tied to the trial, the supposed bounty situation didn't stop with Dolph. Documents circulating online claim Big Jook allegedly had prices attached to multiple members of Paper Route Empire. Dolph allegedly carried a $100,000 price key Glock, reportedly had $50,000 attached to his name. Paper Route, Woo, another $50,000. Snoop Bands, $20,000. Big Moochie Grape, $5,000. If true, that means this wasn't just a rap feud anymore. It was allegedly a full war campaign aimed at an entire label roster. The craziest part, Big Jook was never charged, never officially questioned, publicly retired. Sergeant Taryn Dabney, the lead investigator in Dolph's case, later admitted during Hernandez Govan's 2025 trial that Jook had been considered a suspect, but police never followed up further, and before any justice could touch him, Big Jook ended up dead himself. January 13, 2024, around 4:15 p.m., Big Jook was attending a repast after a funeral service at Paradox Event Center on Winchester Road in Memphis. He had already buried a relative earlier that same day. Then a white Ford Explorer with tinted windows reportedly pulled up. Gunfire erupted. Big Jook and another victim were hit. The second victim survived in critical condition. Big Jook didn't. What made the situation even eerier was his final Instagram post just one day earlier. They don't want to face you. They want a snake. You stay alert to stay alive. Almost like sense danger coming. The CMG camp was devastated. Glow. Rilla posted a photo of Yo Gotti and Big Jook together from the Grammys with a tribute message. Others connected to CMG mourned publicly too. But Memphis streets immediately started connecting dots back to Dolph. Police released images of the white Ford Explorer and offered rewards for information. But months passed with no arrests announced publicly. Then Bo Lil Kenny's name entered the picture. And this is where the story turns almost cinematic. Bo Lil Kenny isn't just another Memphis rapper. He's connected to the Bayo faction tied closely to Dolph's side of the city. More importantly, he's Young Dolph's blood cousin, the same Dolph who was murdered in 2021. The same Dolph whose killing was allegedly tied back to Big Jook through courtroom testimony. The same Dolph whose death left Paper Route Empire grieving ever since. Now his own cousin becomes one of the names investigators reportedly focused on in Big Jook's murder case. That's not random, that's personal. And Memphis blood retaliation runs deep after Jook's death. Bo Lil Kenny reportedly wasn't subtle online. Either videos surfaced of him dissing Big Jook after the murder, even speaking recklessly in front of Jook's mother. He made it very clear where he stood and how he felt the situation, and honestly, that tells you everything about the mentality behind this case. This wasn't allegedly some random opportunity hit. This was tied to years of pain, bloodshed, and revenge. In January 2026, Bo Lil Kenny was arrested in connection to Big Jook's murder. He later addressed the situation publicly on social media. While the charges remain serious, we're talking about the murder of Yo Gotti's own brother. Then, not long after that, arrest reports started spreading around Memphis that Bo Lil Kenny himself had been shot and was in critical condition and immediately street. Rumors tied Yo Gotti's name to it. Now, here's where things get complicated. Let's separate facts from street talk because both matter in stories like this. What's confirmed publicly is that Bo Lil Kenny was arrested in connection with Big Jook's killing and later spoke publicly afterward. The charges directly connect him to the January 13, 2024 murder of Anthony Mims. What the streets are saying is something different. They claim once Bo Lil Kenny's name became publicly attached to Jook's death, Retaliation came fast, and the reason people immediately connected it to Yo Gotti is because of the history already attached to both sides in Memphis, especially in situations this deep. People don't wait for press conferences to assume there's money on somebody's head. The streets already understand how revenge moves, yo. Gotti lost his brother as right-hand man, the alleged enforcer behind CMG, the same man accused of putting hits on multiple people tied to Paper Route Empire. And now that the man tied to Big Jook's murder is really out here, moving through Memphis streets, no cap. And if even half the rumors floating around are true, then honestly, what happened next was almost expected. But this goes way deeper than just Bo Lil Kenny getting shot. Look at the layers stacked on top of each other here. Big Jook allegedly put a bounty out that led to Young Dolph getting killed. Then Young Dolph's own cousin allegedly retaliated and took Big Jook out, and now people in Memphis are saying Yo Gotti allegedly put money on the head of the cousin accused of killing his brother. That's a complete cycle of violence, revenge. Feeding revenge, a wheel that's been spinning since at least 2017, destroying families, taking lives, and turning an entire city into a battlefield. And through all of this, Memphis police have looked a step behind the whole time. The lead detective literally admitted in court that Big Jook was never questioned over Dolph's murder, despite being considered a suspect. Then, when Jook got killed, there were no arrests announced for over a year. Every phase of this story, the move faster than law enforcement, and in Memphis, sadly, that's nothing new now. Zoom out for a second, because this story was never just about two rappers beefing. This is about power, territory, influence, control over one of the most important cities in hip-hop history. Memphis gave the culture legends like 3 6 Mafia, 8 Ball, and MenJG, and helped shape the entire southern rap sound that evolved into modern trap music. And for the past decade, the two biggest names tied to Memphis have been Yo Gotti and Young Dolph, two men from the same city who simply couldn't exist in the same space peacefully. Gotti turned CMG into a major powerhouse, Glow, Rilla Eja, and Moneybag. Yo, those are platinum artists, Grammy names, major stars. CMG became a real empire, but no matter how successful the label got, the shadow of the Dolph case stayed attached to it, whether Yo Gotti is ever charged with anything or not. Brother's name became permanently connected to the murder of Young Dolph, a killing carried out in broad daylight at a cookie shop right before Thanksgiving in their own city. Meanwhile, Dolph's Paper Route Empire still lives on key. Glock continues carrying the flag. Pre-artists are still active. Dolph's music still charts after his death. His legacy never disappeared, but the people closest to him keep paying the price. Now his own cousin is accused of killing Big Jook and is reportedly fighting for his life after being shot himself. That's what this war does to everybody trapped inside it. And here's the uncomfortable truth nobody really wants to say out loud. There are no winners here. None. Young Dolph has gone. 22 bullets took him away from his children, his family, and his community at only 36 years old. Justin Johnson is serving life in prison. Cornelius Smith is still dealing with his legal fate. Hernandez Govan beat the charges in August 2025, but his name will forever stay attached to this story. Big Jook is dead, and now Bo Lil Kenny, a young Memphis rapper already traumatized by losing his cousin, is reportedly laying in a hospital bed in critical condition. And through all of it, Yo Gotti has stayed completely silent publicly. He never addressed the accusations against his brother, never publicly reacted to Big Jook's death. He's moved quietly while the streets around him kept erupting. Then Whack 100 stepped in publicly and warned him straight up, said prosecutors could eventually come after Gotti too, claimed CMG itself could end up being viewed as a criminal organization, said testimony tied to Big Jook could potentially drag Gotti deeper into the situation. Gotti hasn't publicly flinched, but Memphis streets are now connecting his name to the alleged bounty on Bo Lil Kenny. To be clear, we're talking about rumors and street chatter here, not confirmed facts. But if any of it turns out to be true, then things become legally dangerous fast. Because if Bo Lil Kenny survives, then there's potentially a witness, somebody who could speak on who allegedly sent shooters after him. And with federal attention already locked onto Memphis because of all this violence, putting money on somebody's head right now would be one of the riskiest moves imaginable. So let's bring everything fully up to date. Justin Johnson convicted of first-degree murder in Young Dolph's killing life sentence. No parole. Cornelius Smith, admitted shooter who testified against Johnson, still waiting on the outcome of his own case. Hernandez Govan, the alleged middleman, went to trial in July and August of 2025 and was acquitted on all charges on August 21, 2025. The jury wasn't convinced, despite testimony against him, and the streets exploded when the verdict came back: Big Jook dead, never charged, never officially questioned. And the Dolph case, despite being considered a suspect, one of the craziest investigative failures tied to this whole situation, Bo Lil Kenny, arrested in January 2026 in connection to Big Jook's murder, addressed the arrest publicly afterward, and now reportedly in critical condition after being shot with rumors all over Memphis claiming Gotti money is behind it. The second victim, shot alongside Big Jook at the repass back on January 13, 2024, survived after initially being listed in critical condition, and now Bo Lil Kenny is sitting in that same position fighting for his life while carrying the weight of this entire war on his back. And think about this part 2. Memphis police offered just $4,000 in reward money for information on Big Jook's killers. $4,000. Meanwhile, the same streets were talking about six-figure bounties tied to this beef. The contrast is insane now. Everybody's asking the same question: what happens next? If Bo Lil Kenny survives, and right now nobody knows, then this story absolutely has another chapter coming. A man arrested for allegedly killing Gotti's brother, who then allegedly gets shot because of a rumored Gotti bounty, is eventually going to talk whether that happens in the streets or in a courtroom. More details are going to surface, and if he doesn't survive, then the cycle keeps going paper route. Empire loses another name connected to Dolph, and somebody else eventually tries to retaliate the same way. Bo Lil Kenny allegedly retaliated for Dolph. That's the tragedy of Memphis. Right now, the violence never really stops, fam. Before wrapping this up, I gotta keep it real with y'all, not just as somebody covering hip-hop culture, but as somebody who understands what Memphis rap means. Young Dolph stood for something bigger than music. Yeah, the music was hard, but it was his mindset. People respected most independent, self-made, never folded under industry. Pressure built his own lane and refused to let anybody own him. And even after becoming successful, he still poured back into his community. That man became a blueprint, and hearing courtroom testimony that traces his murder back to an alleged $100,000 bounty fueled by ego, pride, and rap beef. That's tragic on every level, personal, cultural, community-wise, every level, and the aftershocks of that murder are still taking lives today. Bo Lil Kenny being in that hospital bed right now is directly connected to what happened on November 17, 2021, and whatever happens next will create another ripple effect too. That's the thing people forget when they consume stories like this online. They treat it like entertainment, like episodes in a TV series. But these are real hospital rooms, real funerals, real families getting life-changing phone calls, real children growing up without fathers. Still, we keep it honest on this channel because ignoring reality helps nobody. The only way to understand what's happening in Memphis, Chicago, Atlanta, and cities all across America is by looking directly at the cycle and tracing where it started. Young Dolph's death was a tragedy. Big Jook's death became retaliation. Bo Lil Kenny getting shot is another consequence. And what happens next depends on whether somebody finally breaks the cycle or keeps it spinning. And Gotti, if the street rumors about this alleged bounty are true, needs to understand that his label, his legacy, and possibly even his freedom could all be at risk. Federal prosecutors have already had Memphis under a microscope since the Dolph case exploded. Whack 100 wasn't entirely off base when he said investigators could revisit everything: the Charlotte shooting, the Los Angeles incident, all of it, if the right people decide to reopen doors. And now Bo Lil Kenny has become the center of whatever happens next. Whether he survives or not could shape the next chapter of Memphis. Completely real, recognized, real fam. The story of Big Jook's murder and Bo Lil Kenny reportedly ending up in critical condition after rumors of a Gotti bounty isn't just rap gossip anymore. It's the result of years of violence, failed investigations, unanswered questions, and two powerful Memphis camps refusing to let the feud die. Young Dolph said many times in interviews and music that he knew he had a target on his back and still never backed down. He lived exactly how he wanted until the very end. That's why his legacy still hits different. And now his cousin is reportedly fighting for his life in a Memphis hospital. While the cycle keeps spinning, y'all stay safe out there. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do y'all think Bo Lil Kenny survives this? Do you think Gotti ever faces legal trouble? And do y'all think Memphis can ever truly heal after everything that's happened? Let me know. I read all the comments. Long live Dolph.